It's the post-match pint. It's John Gibbons hosting this week, and I'm joined by Steve Graves and by Craig Hannan. Gareth Roberts fans, don't worry, you're going to get some of him as well. He's down there in Norwich, but we're here in the studio to celebrate. Steve, Liverpool going 25 points clear at the top of the Premier League. It's absolutely unreal.
It's ludicrous, and you forget it sometimes, like how far Liverpool are ahead and how much of a record-breaking year this already is, and already has to be, really. It's astonishing, and the only concern is like, what do Liverpool do next? Like, how does anyone beat this? I think the only who could ever beat this will be this team now, and you know it's ridiculous, and you don't really see who you know. We were you know, when we were watching the game, there was a point where you think, well, am I going to have to come to an accommodation with us drawing a game here?
Yeah.
And then Mane scores. And it's, but like, we literally haven't had that once this season, because possibly Leicester at home, I think, was one where we leave it late. Wolves is one where we leave it late. But you just know that Liverpool are going to find a way, and I think that it transmits itself from the players to the team to the backroom staff, and Liverpool are just an impossible force to deal with, and because there haven't been many 5s and 6s and 7s, maybe it's not always felt like Liverpool are destroying teams. But I mean, even today, Liverpool just rendered Norwich completely unable to even lay a glove on them. And there's not a point really when Norwich have even a flurry of a chance while playing quite well. And I think that's the main thing. While playing quite well, team after team after team, from Sheffield United to Wolves to anyone you want to name, have come up against this Liverpool side and found themselves wanting. And this entire league, it's ridiculous. And we're about to overtake in the next couple of games lots and lots of really good seasons. Season that me and you would look back to. Craig's a few years younger than us. Seasons that we would look back to one day. You know, in the sort of early 2000s, when Liverpool felt like title challengers. And we're about to overtake what those teams did in their entire seasons. Yeah. And there's, I think it's Andrew Beasley, forever the font of great stats on Liverpool, said that we are. I think there's 5 teams now who could theoretically, if Liverpool gave up and declared, finish above Liverpool, and that's it. Which is crazy, isn't it? Yeah. It's crazy to be at this stage of the season where Manchester United are one of them that can't finish above Liverpool now. And what is it, February? not even late February.
I mean, it's ludicrous, Craig, isn't it? You know, they show the league table at the end of the game, and you do just laugh at it now. And the fact is that this Liverpool team always find a way. It was tough out there. I know you're a big fan of weather, so you're a bit, you know, eyeing up that wind with interest. Some of those goal kicks were there.
Fucking hell, it was windy. That was an enjoyable aspect of the game. That every time you saw a footballer set the ball down and move, it's like, the ball's moving. Have you seen it? And it's something that Jurgen Klopp's spoken a lot about in the past that does affect football matches, and maybe it's been highlighted whenever he's mentioned that after games where maybe Liverpool haven't got the points in previous seasons, but it really would have had an impact. And I think you're right. This, no matter how well this Liverpool team play, whether they're struggling, whether they're toiling a little bit, whether they're not the same after having 2 weeks off, you still have the confidence that no matter what, they're going to find a way. And you know, throughout the game, it didn't ever look like Norwich were going to lay a glove on it, but equally at times we were saying, well, we haven't really troubled the keeper here. And then you looked at it, and it was just before we'd scored, I think we had 15 shots, 5 on target, and it's just Liverpool were just so dominant and inferior over Norwich. And you know, it's interesting, Steve mentioned there about how you know, it's winning by 1 or 2, and it's maybe not by 4 or 5 the way we've seen a Man City do in the past. And I actually like the fact that Liverpool play this way. It's a bit more exciting than just winning 4 or 5-0 every week, but it also means that whenever it's coming to the 75, 80th minute, you know that they've been able to find a way in the past. Villa away was one that we haven't mentioned there, where afterwards Van Dijk walks off the pitch, says to the camera, that's just what we do. That's the belief in the team. That's what they believe. No matter what time it is in the game, that they'll find a way to win it, and they did that. And you know, what an incredible touch by Mane. That's just class, and the finish as well, to be able to get the power from bringing it down in the air. It's a brilliant way to get the 3 points.
Yeah, he's been injured, Sadio Mane. Jurgen Klopp decides not to start him, maybe with sort of that in mind. Comes on he's dangerous from the off. We were doing the hot mic commentary together, and you said, Sadio Mane's making a difference already. He certainly made a difference on 75.
Completely. It was just so. It was so good that Liverpool didn't need to. We're in a position where Liverpool probably, and I'm going to go out on a limb, but I think he's our best player, doesn't have to start because we don't have to rush him back because we've got 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 who are top level, who are probably 8 who are world class and then a couple more who are like just below that level, which is crazy. But Liverpool, but he still brings something that is just so unique and fresh, and he played. I think there was times when he played a little bit more like an orthodox winger than he has done for Liverpool at times. But it was great to see him come back. It was great to see that the reason he doesn't start the game today, I think, is almost to keep him fresh for Tuesday rather than because he's not fresh. Do you know what I mean? I think there was different ways of looking at whether he started today's game. It was either because he needed the minutes or because we were protecting him, and I think it's more we were protecting him because we know he's ready for Tuesday, which is amazing to be in that position. He is a difference maker beyond almost anyone else we've got in the side, and that's. You'll find yourself saying that about other players at other times in this season, but you'll find yourself saying it more about Mane than anyone else, I think.
Yeah, he's 100 goals in English football. It was a surprise for him when he was told after the game, and he's just been a phenomenal player for Liverpool, since we bought him almost. He announces his arrival to Liverpool with that amazing goal away at Arsenal, Craig, and sort of ever since then, really, he's been so threatening, he's been so strong and so key for Liverpool. But it does feel like this season he's almost gone on to another level, if that was possible.
Definitely. Like, not to overstate the signing, but it feels like his signing was a catalyst for everything that comes afterwards, doesn't it? It feels like he's the, we can talk about Van Dijk and about Allison, the backroom staff looking at those two and thinking, right, they're going to be the game changers. But in actual fact, if you go right back, it seems to be that Sadio Mane, it feels like Sadio Mane, the signing of him was the game changer for Liverpool. And there is the best thing about this Liverpool side is there is debate around who is the best footballer, and there's about 7 of them that you can debate. You look at Alisson's performance tonight, obviously Van Dijk, Salah, blah blah blah. But it feels like anytime Sadio Mane's on the pitch, it feels like you can achieve anything with him in the team, and bringing him on for Norwich, even psychologically, it must be after having sort of battled against Liverpool and you're on 70-75 minutes and it's still 0-0 and you're thinking, well, we maybe get something here. We might be the second team to take points off Liverpool this season, and then psychologically you have to deal with Sadio Mane coming on, and then physically you have to actually deal with him as well. And he's just such an important player, and what a goal and what a touch it was.
Yeah, I mean, Craig makes a good point there, Steve, in that the relentlessness of Liverpool and what we must do to an opposition. And it's one of those where you think, well, even when we're not boss, we are, and even when we're not quite at the level that we expect or we've come accustomed to, in our spoilt manner, as Craig said, sort of even earlier in the show, it flashes up, we've had 15 shots and they've had 1, and you think, have we? Do you know what I mean? And it's like it's the relentlessness of this side and what we put sides under and the pressure we put sides under, just must be so hard to play against. And even when we're sort of, picking about final ball or certain decision making or things not going for us, for the opposition, before we even sort of, get the idea of throwing on Sadio Mane, James Milner, Fabinho, all these unreal kind of footballers, even before that, what they've got to deal with is just the relentlessness, to use that word again, of it all that must be just exhausting.
It's so hard, it's impossible, and I think to put it into that context, Liverpool today play like the home team, and they have in every away game, basically, probably apart from Manchester United, where Manchester United kind of worked out Tottenham we went to and played like the home team, and that's it can't be overstated that we've seen Liverpool sides, the 08-09 team, still be able to still go away from home, and Portsmouth in that season, for example, and be in disarray and ultimately get there, because we dragged ourselves over the line because that was a team of champions ultimately, or felt like a team of champions. But this is a team that goes and starts every game as the team that's in possession of the ball and But also that's not a problem in the way that, it's been a problem for Liverpool teams when they have been literally the home team against Leicester sides and unable to break them down, unable to, and I think that's part of the reason why maybe Naby Keita's in the side today is to find ways to break a team down a little bit more. But Liverpool they've just got away for every situation and every scenario, and I don't know what you do. We were on the hot mic and Neil said, this is the best way Norwich could set themselves up, is to look like they are trying to play their way, trying to just play technically well and have come at us and not be too. They weren't too defensive. They tried their best to have a go, but what can you do? I genuinely don't know. I don't think anyone's really found an answer apart from maybe Manchester United, which for a little bit of time they found a way with the three at the back and the way that they played in that game. But I just feel like Liverpool have taken that knowledge in and worked out a way to even play around that now. So I don't know what you do next. It literally we are in team from Mars territory, and perhaps the Champions League will be the only thing that gives us a real measure of exactly how people have invoked the idea that this is a uniquely weak league, and I don't think it is at all. I think you look around the leagues, you look at how far ahead PSG are. It's a normal amount. You look at what's happening in La Liga, and it's a tight league.
It's tight in Italy this year as well.
Tight in Italy, and you've got super teams in those leagues, and Liverpool are a super team to go beyond any other super team that there's ever been, and it's not come from nowhere, because obviously we got 97 points last season, but this has come from this. No one could have expected this.
More to come from us in the room, but right now you're going to get Gareth Roberts in Norwich. I reckon he's going to be happy.
Not a classic match, not classic conditions for a match, but who gives a shit about all of that? The Reds have won again, another step towards what is obviously the Reds winning the league. Sadio Mane comes on, he changes the tempo of what Liverpool are doing, he scores the goal, he makes the difference, and Liverpool have won again. The Reds, who were all here in this end, they were all singing "Hand it over Manchester." That's what Manchester need to do, because this league is won. Liverpool have done it again. It was horrible out there, it was windy, it was squally, there was a storm. Dennis brought a storm, Norwich brought all of their defenders, they put everyone behind the ball. Liverpool eventually found a way, and they've done it again. What a side, what a squad, what a season. Up the fucking Reds.
Cheers to Gareth. I'm sure you enjoyed that. I'm sure you get a little taster of the celebrations that are taking place in East Anglia at the moment. It's a lot of very, very happy Liverpool fans, as there are here, obviously, in the city of Liverpool, right on the waterfront where we are now. You mentioned Allison earlier in the show, Craig. I just want to focus a little bit on him, because for all Liverpool's dominance and for all the stats that show that Liverpool were on top kind of throughout the game, really, they did have that big moment in the first half where we needed them. And look, one-on-ones are hard enough with the keeper. When it's two of them, you know what I mean? Like, chances are that Norwich are going to score. And I felt for the kid, because he does everything right, but Allison's his anticipation, his athleticism to get there, and just his general brilliance just means that we come out of it somehow without conceding.
Yeah, and we talk about having game changers at the top end of the pitch, and we talk about, if it is 0-0 on 75, that they can find a way to score, but equally we've got someone at the back there that'll save things that he shouldn't save or has no right to save, and they'll sort of pull us out of danger, and that just sort of breeds confidence throughout the whole of the team, because too many times in Liverpool's past, certainly in my generation, we've had goalkeepers who we can't depend on, and now we have the bona fide best goalkeeper in the world, isn't he? And that's a brilliant thing to have, and that save is outrageous, like it really is. And there's been other times throughout the season where Klopp himself's come out in the post-match interviews and said, like, if it weren't for Allison, we don't win that game today, or we drop points. And it's a brilliant safety net to have whenever things aren't particularly going well, or at times where we might need to ride out a storm. And he's played a huge part in Liverpool having only dropped 2 points this season. And I think that means he's now got more clean sheets than any Premier League keeper, even though he
took a month or so off.
Yeah, more than a month. It was more than a month or so, wasn't it? So that's an incredible achievement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like doing too much of the kind of, we've got the best X in the world, Steve, because A, I probably don't watch enough football, and B, kind of, you can decide that, where do you stop with this Liverpool team? We've got the best centre-half in the world, we've got the best full-backs in the world, defensive midfielder, attackers, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, if someone else has got a better goalkeeper, then fair play to them.
They haven't. We paid the most money, and then Chelsea paid a little bit more for someone much less good. And I think that's there's 2 or 3 other goalkeepers out there who are even somewhere in the conversation or in the bracket, and after that there's a load more. But he's just remarkably good, and you can't overstate the extent to which Liverpool are happy to play the ball around at the back, because they know that if they need a 5th footballer in there, they've got him there. And I think you can never really quantify that, and you can never. I'm glad that he's had a chance to make some decisive saves and interventions, because I think it got a little bit like people going week after week. We know he's great, and he's not really made any good saves, and you can see him also making really good saves, and he makes difficult saves. He makes difficult saves, but he also makes routine ones in an easy way. He catches them when other people. The
one from Pookie right to the end.
Yeah. He grabs hold of the ball. He's kind of he's what people, in terms of his goalkeeping, is what people wanted from the archetypal sort of English goalkeeper, if you like. He doesn't really punch. He catches. He doesn't parry. He catches. He doesn't sort of often get just stuck in the middle and it just bounces off him, but sometimes he does, because that's just, but broadly speaking, he's just there, and he does the right thing at any given moment, and then he's so good with the ball at his feet, and I think he's even better there now. He's less of the sort of the flamboyant stuff that you saw in the clips we saw from Roma, and then the Brighton game that we all remember, and maybe the one mistake he's made, I think, against Leicester. Yeah, which
so long ago now.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? I genuinely don't know if there has been another time when you could say he was at fault, which is like the sort of catch-all thing that you say for goalkeepers, where they probably aren't really, because footballers are good at sticking the ball in the net sometimes. I'm struggling for one. Maybe someone can come up with one. Because it's a competition.
You saw in the second half there, when Liverpool were pushing for the goal, how high Gomez and Van Dijk, I think Neil mentioned it in the hot mic commentary, about how high they pushed up, and they're able to do that as well, because they're confident in Allison that he's this goalkeeper that actually commands his whole half. He doesn't just command his box in the way that Mignolet would have tried to do. It's Allison has the confidence that he's actually halfway up the pitch, and it's something that you notice more so whenever you're at the game. But he just, like I said earlier, he just breeds confidence that means that we can, do everything else at a much higher level than we would if we had a poorer goalkeeper.
Craig, Steve said before about the Champions League, be a new test for Liverpool. It'll be a great example of kind of seeing where we're at. It would actually turn into a nice warm-up for that game against Atletico now, because Fabinho, who you think will probably start, gets half an hour, and I thought looked much more like the Fabinho that we were seeing earlier in the season. Obviously Sadio Mane is back from the injury. Even Milner is someone who's been injured recently, gets some minutes as well, and he can basically pick whatever team he wants now in that Atletico game, because of what happened today, and because everyone who he wanted to got a bit of a run and looked good, and he's able to approach that game now, thinking, well, the league, we're in a fantastic position in the league. Let's really go for that as well.
100%, and I think even the performance of Keita as well gives him a little bit of a headache in there, because we know that Atletico Madrid are going to be difficult to break down, and you see the way Keita brings the ball forward. It's all his chin's always up, he's always watching, and we saw little glimpses tonight of what he can offer. I thought he was really good tonight. I think the Champions League's a funny one this year, because last year we were talking on these shows about how the Champions League was a nice break from the stresses and strains of the Premier League, and this year I'm far more excited about the Champions League, because we're so far ahead in the league, and I feel like we can go all the way. Jurgen Klopp's got to European finals in every year he's played in Europe, or he's managed in Europe for Liverpool, which is unreal. And you wouldn't put it past this team to take us all to Kiev as well, Istanbul. And I think it'll be a really interesting one as to who he chooses to play. I think Mane comes straight back in. He's got the goal and he's got minutes. But Keita, as I said, wouldn't have been someone last week that I'd have been thinking about starting against Atletico. But then you see him tonight. Fabinho as well.
Just quickly before we finish, get a man of the match from each of you. Start with, who's looking at me, Steve? Neither of you, but...
It's hard to look beyond Mane because not only for the goal and the difference he makes, but his quality in the time he was on the pitch was just remarkable. Then Mane.
Okay.
I'm going to go Allison just because if he doesn't make that save, it becomes a completely different football game and it becomes much more difficult. I just think he's been, he's outstanding whenever he's called on without having to be or being needed throughout the 90 minutes.
It's funny, you two go for the boys who had the big moments in the game. I'd actually go for Mo Salah just because I thought, although he didn't have the big moments he often has, I thought he was constantly a threat. I thought his touch was excellent, and maybe not selfish enough tonight, which is an ironic one, but who cares? Liverpool have won again. Liverpool go, as we said, right at the top of the show, 25 points clear at the top of the Premier League. We're in February, we're in dreamland. Up the Reds.